Good morning, everyone. I'm going to try to do just a quick tutorial here to show you some editing based on sort of what Sonia showed us this morning. Now, this was my final here, and I'm going to do a quick reset. So here is the original image. Now, when we talk about what we do in camera to get to a particular post processing place, just that little bit easier, you can see here that one of the things I was looking at, and this is why sometimes my original images look the way they do, because I'm only looking at very specific elements when I have artwork in mind. So here we had a beautiful flat water. This reflection is nice. But what I really like here is that there was some texture of the water behind the bird and then clarity here. It's clear. There's not a lot of junk floating on the surface. This should be really pretty easy to render into a piece of art. Now there's going to be a lot of tweaks that I would make to this to the end, but I'm going to try to quickly show you the big parts of it. So I would start here. I'm just going to grab my crop tool and find a crop. It's too bad these little guys are back here. I could take them out, but we're going to just kind of do something like this. So already you can see I'm choosing, I love this. And this is something I look for when I am out in the field shooting, definitely. Texture, trying to be more at eye level, getting as low as you can so that you're looking right at the bird, you're not shooting down on it. Looks like this is just a little piece of feather down here. That's maybe even something I would leave. You've got a couple little spots here that we can get rid of in post if they don't render out the way we want them to. So real quickly, I'm going to work from inside, from the outside in, and we're just going to go ahead and choose our backdrop. And I'm going to actually leave this mask the way it is. You can see that some of the red is on the bird, but sometimes that helps to make a more pleasing outline. You won't deal with pixels quite so much when you've got a super crisp edge. So I'm actually going to just leave that for now. And the first thing I want to do, I think, is work on the clarity of that backdrop and find, so you can see as we play with texture, I definitely, now again, this is going to be from my eye, and clarity, I'm going to bring that down as well. I want that backdrop to be soft. The bird is the star of the show in this image, and I want that to just be a little soft. And then rather than go right to exposure, I'm gonna also kind of work with some dehazing here and see. So we actually can get quite a few different effects here. All right, so I'm gonna leave the dehaze in play just a little bit. And I'm gonna come back up. Now I'm gonna start to go to work on how I want the gradient to look. I definitely am gonna, and this is something I just know in my head, and it's the way I like things to look. I'm gonna try to work from the top down in terms of what we do with the color. So now we can go to exposure and you can see, so here is just if we were to go 100% white, and then sometimes, you know what, there's 100% black. So training your eye, I think, is a really big part of getting good in post processing. So a lot of times you'll see me sliding the bar so that my eye can get a feel for what is happening in this image and what the possibilities are. So I'm just going to leave a little bit of exposure up. I'm probably not going to get to where this is all white. So addressing Sonia's question this morning, leaving some tone in here is going to allow us to play with color. Now, this is why people, I think at some point, you'll end up jumping into Photoshop if you really want some easy manipulation, because you can do almost whatever you want in Photoshop. Lightroom has a few more constraints when it comes to what we can do easily. but you can see here. So now what I'll also kind of look at is at what brightness, so we can keep bringing up the exposure. Can I still play with the color tone? Yes. So I make it to the point where this looks kind of white, but it's not really a true white because I want to be able to keep the color the way I want it. Now, if I want to turn this 100% white, I can do that with a linear gradient later. So for right now, I want to color grade down from the top. So I think I want a little more blue. And again, I'm working with the whole image right now, but I'm we're gonna play with the bottom later. So I'm just really in my head working with this upper portion. And I kind of want it to be a bluey green. So I'm gonna sort of find the tone that I like. All right, now what we can do is we're gonna grab, I like this color tone, and then we're gonna grab a new linear, and I'm gonna go from the bottom up so that we can grade this a little differently. And now I'm going to subtract the reflection here. Now we can start to play, making that a little wider. Now, if I want the bottom to have some color tone, we can't. Now, this is one of the reasons to go all the way left. This is also a really unique look. So we don't necessarily have to go white or bright on the bottom. You could go darker, and that actually has kind of its own appeal. So now I'm just going to play with these colors. This is the temperature. So just we've sort of split this image in half, and now I can do whatever I want here. Now, if you like this, we can bring the saturation up. Too much, obviously, but looking coming down. So we can tone that out a little bit, but yet keep the color. Now you can come here and play with your hue also, and you can just run the color gamut. You know, sometimes you may see something that appeals to you. So this bird was obviously at Black Point, not on a beach, but we can almost make it feel like it was on a beach just using color. So here we could tone this down, and we can almost make this feel like it's sand. And this bird could have now been standing on a sandy beach. So many possibilities. So play with them all, and sit on it too, you know, for a little bit. See if you like it. Like here, we could bring in a little more pink. That's not making too big an impact. So play with all of these things and see what you like. So all we've done so far is just split that a little bit, top image, bottom image, all making one, but we've kind of broken it in two. And already we've got an artful image, and it's been less than 10 minutes. So now here we can play with exposure. So keep working all the elements. So we still have a little bit of a beachy feel, but we've just lessened here, contrast. All of these things will affect your color. So play with them all. So I'm going to leave that like that for now. And we're going to go here and just do a little bit of work on this bird. And I used my K. So I'm just bringing in a brush mask, and I think that maybe, actually, you know what? I'm gonna take that back, and Let's just get rid of that and let's just try an overall. I want a little more definition in the feathers, so I'm going to bring those highlights down. Maybe just a little bit of whites. This is blacks. Shadow's going to give us a little more definition. Actually less contrast, but it's going to show us more detail in the end. And same with contrast. We're going to, all right, I'm going to leave contrast a little on the low side. Okay, now I want this bird to be fluffy and a little muted, but at the same time, I want some of the feather detail to come through. So I'm going to use two brushes here. I'm going to hit the K and I am going to run down to texture and clarity and just bring those up and kind of paint through the feathers and the face, elements that I want to sort of jump out. So some of these feathers, I want them to look a little more realistic. And to that end, by the way, I might come down and just grab the sharpening tool here and our manual denoise. This image is only at ISO 250, so we don't have to do any denoising, but we're gonna smooth things out a little bit here. All right, now gonna take another brush and color in that eye just a little bit. Bring up exposure, maybe some shadow. See, we've got a catch light in that eye, so that little white dot that you're seeing there is called a catch light, and it's very desirable in animal shots. And then I may just add a little bit of gold. All right. Now I will sometimes do things as I see them. I like to work from the outside in, but I think I want to smooth out this reflection. So I'm just going to come down here, hit my new K brush. I'm just going to first grab some texture and just try to smooth that out just a little bit. Clarity. So again, you know, you can, I tend to like reflections that are a little more muted. Now again, you can start to play with this. You can dehaze that reflection, make it more obvious, whatever suits you. You can come up here and add some, bring up the shadows, some whites. Now, this is where you need to watch your masking too. So here you can see going up in whites, you can totally see my mask. So need to be observant of what you're doing and how your mask is reacting to what you're doing. So some of your sliders, you'll need to be careful. I don't love this, so I'm just going to go up here and delete my mask. I don't like what was going on there, but I'm going to do something to that eventually. Again, just showing you what's possible. So, I mean, already we have a very different image than what we started with. So if we, just hit my snapshot here, I'm just going to name this video. So now we can always go back. And now when we reset, just to remind, here's where we were. Okay. And then here's our video. So really big difference. So those are just some of the steps that I use to get to my final, which is this. So one thing you can see here that's a little different, you can see I brushed out the reflection a little bit. Now one trick too is I kept a little more color in this version, brought in some blue at the bottom, but then I still left in the center. So this you can do with a linear, but sometimes this is easier to do with a radial gradient, and you can just come in here and take a radial and come across like this. And now whatever you want to do here in the middle can be done. And I'm just going to get rid of this. Okay. So the radial gradient works well there. And that is how I did this, just this very barely perceptible hint of pinky yellow here in the middle. So it's not too far off of what we did here in the video. Obviously I kept the peach down here, but I hope that this helps. And you can see also in my final little more feather detail here. So, went in with the clarity and the texture and just worked through parts of this image to bring those feathers to life just a little bit more. Let me know if you have any questions.